What is up, and welcome to Real Advice in Relationships. I'm your host, Keisha, aka Author K.O. Sterling, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the podcast. As you're enjoying today's episodes, please rate this podcast, share this podcast, but most of all, download the podcast episodes. So sit back, turn up that dial, and enjoy this Southern girl share some real advice in relationships. Hey guys, what is up? This is your girl Keisha, aka Author K.O. Sterling, and I'm back today to do another podcast episode. I hope that this podcast finds you well whenever you're listening to it, wherever you're listening to it. I hope that this finds you well. My initial response is my initial statement was going to be long time no talk, but I feel like every time I come on here I'm saying that. But in my defense, I've been a little bit busy and we've been having really weird weather here in Alabama, and so I've never been diagnosed with PTSD, but I swear I think I got PTSD from the tornado we had back in 2011, because I tell you, when the weather gets bad, I don't be right. I'm telling you, like, I don't be right for a minute. So, but at any rate, y'all didn't come on here to hear me talk about the weather. Y'all came on here some real advice in relationships. And what I wanted to talk to you guys today about, I don't have any notes. I don't have anything necessarily written down. I think I have a sentence or two that's written down. But initially, when I got up this morning, I was going to come on here and talk to you guys about, actually, I wanted to do like a story time type of situation. And I wanted to talk to you guys about my experience and my misadventures in the narcissistic relationship that I was in several months ago. And I wanted to share that with you guys. I actually, if you may notice, once I started really just diving head first into that relationship, I kind of got caught up in the whirlwind. I did not post as much when I was with this person. And since then, I really have sporadically posted here and there. Now, that person or that situation is not the reason why I have not posted as frequently as I would like. Time management, one. And number two, time management. And three, consistency. Okay? Procrastination. I have a whole list of things. So I definitely don't want to give that situation more credit than it's actually worth. Okay. But I will say this much. It is very important. I guess so. I guess that kind of leads into the topic for today. And I want to talk to you about really being one within yourself, and really being a whole person, and really being a hyper focused being, not in a selfish way, but to the point, in a way in which that you're not losing yourself when life starts to happen. Okay. And when you introduce people into your life, or you allow people to come into your life and come into your space. Okay. For a while now, I have been wanting to really just end this show and kind of close out the show, Real Advice in Relationships, because I really feel like, I want to talk about other things. I'm still going to talk, but I just want to talk about other subjects, because when I was in that situation dealing with the narcissist, I really got to the point where I felt like I was not worthy to talk about real advice in relationships. I felt like I was, every time I came on, it was as if I wasn't being transparent. I wasn't being honest. I felt like it was hypocritical of me to come on here and give real advice in relationships. And I knew that the relationship that I was engaging in was not a healthy one, right? It had became addictive, right? And unhealthy to the point where I knew that I had to separate myself for the good and the sake of my own self, just for self-preservation's sake, right? And I will say this, I did not engage in that situation and I did not know and understand what I was getting into, right? I knew that this person was unhealthy and everything. As far as emotionally, I knew that this individual was extremely unhealthy. I knew that from the jump, okay? But in my mind, I felt like, well, I'm just going to dibble and dabble and I'm just going to bag out. So it's like, though I had intentions, like going into it, I had already knew that I was going to play with fire a little bit, right? Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I knew that I wanted to deal with this person just for a hot second for some fun, but it's like the fun ended up turning to a circus. And the circus wasn't fun. The circus ended up being like a freak show. The circus ended up being like one of those kooky carnivals, right? Like those, it's just, yeah, like one of them sci-fi carnival movies or something. It ended up morphing into something that I just was not happy in. And so, I felt myself. I felt my energy leaving me. I felt my essence being depleted from me every time that I woke up and I opened my eyes and this person was laying next to me or I was laying next to this person. And I just gave too much of myself to something that I knew that I did not have the ability to maintain over a period of time, because initially I thought, well, he's just going through a rough patch, or he just need help getting on his feet. When I tell you that whole situation was a bottomless pit of I need, I want. Matter of fact, it wasn't I need, I want. Well, it was I need, I want. It was more like, I think I'm going to let you sign for me a car. I think I'm going to let you use your credit card to get me some internet. I think I'm going to let you. And it was just like, I had to just really step back, and I'm just like, one, I know it's not right. Two, I had to really step back and just gather myself and then go back at it with him and be like, I don't know who raised you, but I'm going to tell you, they didn't raise you right and they didn't raise you with no manners. Because where I come from, you ask people. You don't tell people what they do. You don't tell them that you're going to let them do something and it's something. You're not going to tell them you're going to let them do something for you to that magnitude. No, you don't tell somebody you're going to let them sign for your car. That's not a privilege for me. That's a burden to me. That's a responsibility for me. And I just really had to. Now, granted, I did not put my name on anything or anything like that. And I'm going to just be honest with you. I literally just dealt with it. I dealt with this narcissistic person just for casual reasons only. The sex was good. That's it. And the mental anguish, the torment, and the time that you waste dealing with these God-forsaken leeches and vampires is not worth the headache and the heartache that will come with that later on down the line. If you see something, that is off, like we have this saying, like there's this saying, if you see something, say something. Say something, speak on into your own life. Say something to yourself. Tell yourself, what I need you, self, step back, self, run, self, walk away from this situation. If you see something, say something to yourself. Because if you do not, you allow that person, their needs, their desires, their wants, and their toxicity to take you to a whole different place that you did not intend on being. Now, I intended on having a casual relationship with this person. I never intended on I never intended on having a lot of my time spent, wasted, and all of those other things. I never intended on wasting my time like that. Like, it was just going to be just temporary for a little while, right? But I engaged with that person to the point where I started to lose bits and pieces of myself. That, like I said, those quirky things about me started to be, it's almost as it started to vacate me. It started to leave me. Those odd things about myself that I really like and I really enjoy about myself. I really was no longer one with myself anymore. I was really, my personality and the essence of who I was just really being picked apart, like by a raven, a vulture, or a crow or something. It was really weird. I can't really articulate it the way that I experienced it, but I'm doing the best that I can. It is important that when you know something, especially when you know up front about somebody, that you don't go into it blindly. And with all this stuff going on in the world today, we don't have time to waste time. We don't have time to play games and stuff like that. Like, not with your future, not with your life, not with your gifts, your talents, your purpose on this earth. You don't have time like that to waste. And you definitely don't need to be wasting it on a narcissistic person. That's somebody who's extremely, extremely selfish. Okay? And of course there's a lot more that goes on with along with that, but that's my summary of it. They're just extremely selfish. And by me, and I'll say this, I never thought I would meet someone who was way more selfish than I was. But you know what? It's not just being selfish. It's not having empathy. And one thing I can say about that entire situation, I realized something about myself. I have selfish tendencies, but one thing I do know is that I definitely am an emotional person. And the empathy that's necessary to have and sustain just regular interactions and day-to-day relationships, friendships, relationships with your relatives, your family, and your friends. Like, I just did not realize some people don't have that. And I realized that the empathy that I had was being sucked dry. Like, I started to not be one with myself anymore. And I did not want to come on here and talk and express myself and, just all of those fun different things that I started this podcast out off with doing. And I really could say that because I did not properly manage my time and properly manage not necessarily my time, but yeah, that too. But because I did not guard my heart, the enemy came into my camp. He didn't come in, sneakily, sneaking up on me. I invited him in. And I knew that this person was not right. And I still invited them into my home, into my space. Now, though I was never in love with this person, I was in strong lust that translated in strong like, okay? But when I felt myself starting to not be one with myself, like I had worked so hard to reach in my life, I had to really take a step back. I had to take a step back from that situation and realize that I too matter. I had to go back to my affirmations. I had to go back to picking myself up again after experiencing heartbreak and, disappointment from past relationships. I had to go back and start doing my mantras and go back to learning how to be one with myself again, picking myself back up and appreciating the quirkiness about myself, those little weird things about myself about my personality that I rather enjoy. And I pride myself on those things. Even my empathy for others. Okay? And if you know that someone is extremely selfish, that was a point that I was making earlier. Because I'm not married and I don't have any children, it's easy to just, all I have is myself. Like, that's not all I have. I mean, I have family, but you get what I'm saying. It's different when a person has a family. They're used to having to sacrifice. So I'm not used to having to sacrifice as much because all I have, the only responsibility I have is really for myself as far as, caretaking and stuff like that is concerned. But I never in a million years thought that I would meet this. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I didn't even know what a narcissist was until I started to date this person. Because I really, I thought it was something else. Like, I just kept saying something is off and I cannot put my finger on it. Like, something is off. Because for the first few months, probably about 7-8 months, it was great, Now, before we even started off, like I said, I knew that he wasn't right, but I mean, I was being love bombed the first 7 or 8 months, okay? And I'm gonna tell you this much. This is how I knew something was wrong, because the first week, or the second week that we were talking and stuff, or maybe been the second or third week, something like that, and we were still getting to know each other. I wasn't, I wasn't bubbly. I was kind of gloomy that day. And he said to me, he said, what's the matter? He said, you don't seem like yourself. You seem kind of down or whatever. What's the matter? And I said to him, I said, well, I've been really missing my stepdad. Like, we had a close relationship, and I really been missing him. He passed some months back, and it's still fresh for my family and I. And I'm just missing him. That's all. But I'll be okay. You know what this man said? This person said, oh, check out part 2 of this podcast. Hey guys, be sure to go to my website, klsterling.wixsite.com/I'm enough. That's klsterling.wixsite.com/I'm enough. There you can find links to all of my social media platforms, shirts, books, and did I mention I offer free ebooks? Yes, when you go to my website, klsterling.wixsite.com/I'm enough, click on the ebooks link and it will take you directly to the free ebooks that I offer. I look forward to seeing you guys there. Bye.